Divorce is never easy, and when children are involved, families face a number of challenges. Figuring out what's in the best interest of the kids can be extremely emotional. The attorneys at Sterling Law Offices empower their families and help navigate divorce, custody, and so much more. Today, Jeff Hughes, the CEO, joins us along with Latrice Knighton, who is an attorney with the firm. Good morning to you both.
Good morning, Tiffany.
Good morning.
Thanks for joining me today. You know, divorce is not something any family wants to go through. It's extremely difficult. And Jeff, I would imagine when you're going through a divorce, finding the right placement for the children and how they're going to be raised, who they're going to be spending time with is something you have to get right. How is this all viewed through the Wisconsin court system?
Well, first, I can tell you that clients see it in a much different way than the courts see it, because the stakes are never higher when you're dealing with children. And there's a feeling among clients whenever those issues are at stake of just panic, desperation, loss of control. It's really, really difficult. So from the court's perspective and how the court officials see it, what we're required to do is follow what is called the best interest of the child standard. So you can imagine, like, okay, that's much different between every person. Everyone's got an opinion as to what's in the best interest. Even two parents don't agree on minor things. And so what the lawmakers have given us is they've given us 15 or so factors, and they say, do what's in the best interest of the children, but look at these 15-ish factors when making your determination or your judgment. And if that's not all, okay, to make it more ambiguous and confusing, at the end, the judges also have a catch-all factor where they can essentially do and evaluate any factor they think is relevant or important in their determination.
So are any of those factors what the child says, Jeff, or are they just a little bit more ambiguous than that?
Well, the children, they can express a preference, but they can't decide. I mean, the older the child gets, of course, the more weight that preference has, because you've got to consider their emotional state and where they're at in their maturity growth. And so all 15-year-olds don't have the same level of emotional maturity, right? So it depends on the child. It depends on the guardian that's involved and the judge that's looking at the case. So that's considered. It's not controlling.
I think that's a good standard to kind of follow. And for you, Latrice, what are some of the biggest misconceptions? I'm sure that's one of them. You know, when it comes to child placement and custody that's being determined, what are some of those biggest misconceptions that people are not understanding?
You know, Tiffany, it's crazy for most parents to actually believe that they can no longer make those custodial and placement decisions themselves. And in fact, that someone else is going to make them for them because they've always done it. So it seems really scary, and it causes a lot of anxiety in parents that they no longer have control ultimately on custody and placement decisions.
Who are the people that make the decisions? Because aren't there like 4 different people that truly make that final call?
Absolutely. So typically your attorney and your spouse's attorney are players in the process, and they're going back and forth on talking about who makes that decision or ultimately what the decision should be. But also there's a guardian ad litem and a judge who listen in on the factors that both parties present and make the decision when the parents can't reach an agreement.
I think a lot of people are familiar with that term, guardian ad litem. What does it actually mean?
A guardian ad litem is an attorney that represents the kid's best interest. So that person, interviews the child and ultimately makes a recommendation based on that child as to what's their best interest when it comes to custody and placement.
I think it's such a tough topic to navigate. I've had many friends who've gone through, and I think we all have, gone through divorce for many different reasons. I think what's interesting, and I'm not sure which one of you want to talk to this, but is the fact that you as a law firm really feel called to serve in these situations. I think it's something you've expressed time and time again here through the chances I've had to speak with you, and same with Molly, is that calling to serve these families. And it's such a different focus and mission than I've heard in many times before from other places.
Yeah, I can answer this, Tiffany, real quick. So from the service standpoint, where it starts from our perspective is when those clients come in and entrust us with these high stake issues with their children, is to really get into the weeds with them and understand what's on their heart. Like, what are they most painfully concerned about, and understand where that's at. Once we got that base, and we really get them and their children, their personalities, their unique circumstances, then we can advocate. Then we can fight for them, and we can broadcast out our client's point of view in order to get what they believe is in the best interest of their children that we're fighting for.
That's great. And Latrice, from you, I know Jeff kind of covered a little bit of it already, but just in terms of the child's interests or desires, how much are you seeing in your practice too that being taken into account?
Tiffany, a lot of people can relate to this statement of the children have a voice but not a choice. So typically the courts are going to listen to what the kids want. But ultimately, again, it's looking at the big picture of what was going on in this child's life prior to the divorce starting when it comes to family, friends, relationships, activities, and how can the court best make a decision so those continue on in the child's life.
I think it's great that you guys have resources on your website and all that. So I want to thank you both for joining me today. I'm going to give the information so people can find out more about all that you do. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Tiffany.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Sterling Law Office is also a proud sponsor of TMJ4's ongoing campaign, We're Open. To learn more about Sterling, just visit them online at sterlinglawyers.com. They've also got a resource page on those placement factors there. So make sure you check them out.